Thank you for listening to the Distinguished Physical Education Podcast. Just a quick announcement before we get to today's episode. I'm excited to share that Distinguished PE has officially launched 4 new self-paced courses. You can take them for graduate level credits, for hours toward renewing your teaching license, or simply for your own professional growth and reflection. You can earn 3 graduate level credits for each course through Colorado State University, Pueblo, 12 total if you complete all 4. These courses can help teachers move over on their pay scale in many districts. If you're looking for renewal hours, each course offers up to 100 hours toward your teaching license renewal. To learn more and get registered, head over to www.distinguishedpe.com and click on Virtual Courses. You can also email me at gary@distinguishedpe.com. The direct link to sign up is also in the description to this episode. My guest today is Janine Wilkins, a veteran teacher at Carl Sandburg High School in Orland Park, Illinois, where she's been inspiring students for more than 23 years. Janine earned her degree in Kinesiology from the University of Illinois at Chicago, along with a master's in school administration from Olivet University, and she's certified in both physical education and adapted PE. Over the years, she's taught everything from strength and conditioning to dance, group fitness, and adventure education. And her real passion is adapted PE. She currently leads 2 large inclusive classes where students of all ability levels learn, move, and connect together. Outside of teaching, Janine coaches girls cross country, helps with track and field, and co-runs the Eagle Relief, a program that provides essential items like toiletries and school supplies to students in need, while giving her special needs students a meaningful leadership role in running it. At the heart of it all, her work is driven by a deep commitment to inclusion, building confidence in her students, and helping every student reach their full potential. And now I bring you Janine Wilkins. Welcome, Janine. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
The amount of things that you have accomplished in your career and the impact that they've had on countless students is nothing short of incredible. Our conversation is going to focus on one of those things today, what you call the PEOPEL program. But please feel free to mention some of the other amazing things that you and your colleagues do for your students as you see fit. Let's start with the PEOPLE program. Can you describe what it is and what led you to create it early on in your teaching career?
Yeah, the PEOPLE program is probably my biggest accomplishment I've had, besides having children, my own children in my life, that I'm really, really proud of. So basically, it's an adapted PE class where we will integrate general education students. So we have general education students that are tutors that apply to be in the class, 9 through 12 PE, and they will work with our most vulnerable populations, or they'll work with our special needs population. What we teach them to do is we teach our tutors through a training process. And as we talk more about it, there's so many segments of this class, but the one segment is a tutor training program that we teach them how to work with our special need population, what our students need, and then we teach them to model behavior. So it's a class that's going to involve physical fitness, but it's also going to involve socialization, modeling behaviors, and changes in entire communities. So it's PE. It's a general education class. A lot of people think that it's a special ed class, but it is not. It's general education PE, and it's amazing.
I'm glad that you clarified that. That was one of the questions I have. So it's a general PE class. I've been doing a little bit of reading. You have a couple articles out there. We could share them too in the description to the episode so that folks can read up on the program after they listen to it. And I was thinking that one of the reasons that your program is so successful is because of how well structured it is. Can you walk us through in detail how the program works? I know that you have applications for the tutors in the program, how you prepare those mentor students, how the pairs of students interact, and even how you structure some of your class periods.
Absolutely. So in the state of Illinois, we see PE kids 5 days a week. So PE is mandatory. So I'm blessed to see these kids 5 days a week and work with them all the time. So we have 3 segments that go with our class. We have our people trainers, and those are new tutors coming in. Those are juniors and seniors in high school. We have returning tutors that have already gone through the training program. They just carry over from their junior year. And then we have our people student population, which is it could be anywhere from our special needs kids, PALS kids, some OHIs, some, just some learning disabilities or socialization issues, but they all come together for PE. The unique thing about it is if you were to walk into an adapted PE class that was something like special ed, your numbers would be very low. In my PE class with tutors and students mixed third hour, I'm going to see in one class alone about 47 students. That's a mixture of tutors and students. Our students range cognitive age anywhere between 18 months to 18 years. So we have a wide variety. We also have a wide range of students with disabilities. So Fragile X, CP, Down syndrome, autism. We've seen some rares like Lee's disease, Cry-Duchenne. And so those kids all come in. So 3 sections. And what the tutors have to do, the tutors have to apply. So in my school, we have about 3,200 kids total. So tutors have to apply. We'll get about 200 applications. It's an online application process. And we take about 20 tutors per year that will come and join us. And I try to do everything when we're choosing a diversity of students to mix diversity within our group or a diverse school, age, activities. I want band, I want football, I want cheerleading, I want clubs. I want us all to mix together. So whole realm of students. And we'll take the tutors and we'll train them. So it's a regular PE class, returning tutors show up, students show up, and then the tutor trainers get pulled out 2 to 3 times a week for training sessions.
So the actual PE class that those tutors take is their high school PE class that they get
That's
credit
for high
for?
school PE credit. And we need, in the state of Illinois, we need 4 years of PE to graduate. So that would be their PE class. Once they go through the training program, that's about 8 to 12 weeks per semester. We'll pull them out in the classroom. They'll do a research project on some of the disabilities we see or the needs that we see in our areas. They'll get some leadership lectures, just kind of like how to deal with students, what to do socially. One of the things I think about all the time is when we're teaching teenagers social cues, you might get some kids that are really, really sarcastic and kind of just joking around, right? They like to play around. But our students with autism tend to show that they don't understand. They can't read the facial expressions. They take everything literal. We spend a lot of time kind of talking about that. Like, how are we going to talk with our students? We encourage modeling behavior. This is our biggest thing we teach for them to be genuine in themselves. It's called positive peer pressure, right? You come into an atmosphere where teenagers want to be around teenagers. Our special needs population is grouped together with adults all the time, one-on-one pairs in the classroom, small settings. Now they can come into an environment where we still have all those resources, but our student tutors, those kids are going to be the main role for teaching our students. So I want them to be playing like kids. I want them to be playing around because they're going to show them how to act in that setting. The nice part about it is they all learn from each other, and then it ends up just being one big success. On top of teaching modeling behavior, what I follow or what I teach, we also bring in speakers. So we bring in every speaker from our school for free. We just utilize our resources in the building. So our speech, our OT, we have a teacher in the building that has 2 children. One has profound autism. One is a higher functioning autism. We bring in our social worker for our special needs students. Our head of counseling comes in to talk about it. Our department chair for special ed comes in. And then what we do is these kids sit down, they go through all these. And what we have found is 70% of our tutors will leave high school and go into one of our fields. So right now, I probably have 4 staff members that were part of our PEOPEL program. So
That's
it's
incredible.
kind of a unique circle.
Yeah, that must feel so fulfilling.
It is.
Let's start at the beginning of the school year. So can you help me understand? So if you are a mentor, you call them mentor students or
We call them
tutors?
tutors.
Okay.
Yeah, we call them tutors. We have a leader program too. So we have a leadership program. And then when this program kind of got developed, we didn't want them to be the same names. We wanted to distinguish. So we just chose the word tutors.
So if you are a new tutor student and you're being trained in the first semester of the school year, is that right?
Yes.
You're just being trained and you're not paired up with a student with exceptional needs just yet, or are you?
You are. So what I like to do is, because we have to build those relationships, we bring them into the classroom right away, right into the gym right away, so they can start building those friendships. And then what we'll do, usually the second week, I have a co-teacher, and that is one big dynamic of this entire program, is to get a co-teacher that believes in what you believe in. I have a really great co-teacher that sees the vision, and I think that has changed the course as well. They have someone that wants to train these kids and take the time to do it. It hasn't always been like that in the past. I've had great people, but they haven't really seen this vision. So my co-teacher pulls them out 2 to 3 days a week and sets up all these lectures, sets up all these assignments, and then she does all the grading. So usually they'll be pulled out Tuesdays and Thursdays and sometimes Fridays. So we'll see the whole class together Monday and Wednesdays. So we're still formulating those relationships, but we're still pulling out for class time. Our tutors hate it because once they start to build relationships, we're like, it's a training day. And they're like, no, like they don't want to be out of PE with our students. So we kind of follow that system. We have a calendar. They know when they're going and we run it 2 hours a day. So I have a 3rd-hour class and then I also have a 7th-hour class. Training sessions run both hours as well. This wasn't something in my mind that I just created. You asked probably why I started this class. When I was student teaching, I student taught at a high school called Naperville Central, probably about 30 minutes from me. So it's a southwest suburb. And when I walked in, my mentor teacher's name was Pat Adamatis. She literally handed me her keys and had 5 of these special ed adaptive classes. Very small, not anything about like what I'm running. Never thought I would go into anything like this. I got into it and I loved it. So when I got hired, my first job, my only school that I worked at, I had a young department chair. And this was when inclusion started. So we were just including one kid with like 39 kids. So you'd have one kid, a pair off to the side. Nobody knew how to talk to this kid. Nobody knew how to incorporate this kid into anything. And I went to my boss and I said, hey, I did this at Central. What do you think? And he said, write up a curriculum for me and we'll get it rolling. So I wrote up like a basic curriculum of what it would look like. And then through these 24 years, it's grown into this. It never started like this. We started in a gym, one class. We didn't dress. I actually spent 3 weeks in a classroom doing a board game unit because we had no gym space. We were overcrowded. And from there, every year it just got better and better. Like I wanted to continue the growth. Like, what can we do? So where we were 10 years ago to where we are now, we're still growing and we're still improving. So if that makes sense. It was very small. I was begging kids, like, do you want to be a tutor? And they would just come in and work. And we didn't really do a lot of training. And then now we just kind of progressed into this system where it's a curriculum within our district, which is great.
I think that is really helpful so that people don't get overwhelmed and they don't think, well, I mean, I can't do all the things that Janine's talking about this year. Kind of reminded me of a conversation that I had with Drew Burris on Field Day. He's like the king of Field Day and he puts on these insane Field Day productions.
I need to talk to him because I do like a Special Olympics. So I would love to talk to him.
Absolutely. Yeah. We did an episode together last year and the whole time my mind is just blown away. And I'm like, how do you even approach these things? And he really like broke it down just like you did. Over the years, you build little components onto each other.
And through my presentation, like when I present, you'll see those little breakdowns and everything's kind of documented to kind of follow a system. I always tell people, like, don't go in there thinking that this is going to be your starting project because it also depends on your school, your supports, your facilities, but there's always a way to make it work and to build. So yeah, it came from nothing, maybe 25 total kids to now having 3 classes. We actually have a 3rd curriculum that we just created last year. So 3 classes and we're dressing and we do so many more things than we've done in the past.
We'll get into some of the activities that you do and the modifications that you make for them in a moment. You brought up paras. What role do paras play in your program? And what role do you envision them playing in other adapted PE programs?
I would think just like anybody else or having paras in class, like I think over time that's evolved too. One of the things that we try to do is pull back a little bit of the para support to kind of take that adult away so the kids have their own bonding and friendships. What I find helpful is if I have a one-on-one para, meaning there's a para that's assigned to a student specifically, my directive to them is you can still stay off to the side, but move in the gym with them. So they'll stay off to the side against the walls and kind of move, always have their eyes just in case they have to intervene. And then if I have floating paras that are there because we need extra supports and paras, we don't have enough, as we all know in every school, we'll have floaters. And I either assign them a student for that hour so they know specifically, like my 3rd hour, I put them specifically with freshmen that are new that we're still learning. 7th hour, we're more free, floating, not as stressful. Those are my returning kids. I think the good thing, it does get a little tricky because some of the pairs are like, well, I don't know my role. Because in a classroom, they might be sitting directly next to someone. They might be supporting them. For here, we're here if we need to jump in and need to intervene. But for the most part, we're going to stay off to the side and let these friendships build and let these kids teach these students, which ends up being great. The role of a para is to not only support the teacher, but they can be huge impacts on our tutors. So if you have a great para that is one-on-one all day long, they're going to be able to come in with more knowledge on this student than I have. They know the mood that they're in. They know what happened the hour before. They know some of the tricks, like they like dinosaurs. They want a certain sticker. So they can actually teach my tutors more stuff of like accommodating their student than I can. So I cherish when those paras come in and really, really teach our kids because they're so full of knowledge. In the world of paras, I think, especially in adaptive PE, it's not always like you have to be running with them or playing with them. But I think kind of feeling free that they should have the power to talk to a teacher and inform, like, hey, he had a rough day. Like, I had a para come up to me today. It was a student's birthday. He was really having a hard time processing it. She came to find me directly because we were going to do high five. She's like, no singing, no high fives. He was in the sensory room. So for her to give me all that information in like a 2-minute time frame saved us so many issues. And that's what I appreciate.
So just like the other aspects of your program, the expectations that you have for the paras are very much so structured. What I run into sometimes with some of the teachers I support is they'll say things to me like, I wish I could get the paras to do X, Y, and Z. And the first thing I ask them is, did you tell the para that you wanted them to do X, Y, and Z? And they're like, well, no, not yet. But what you're doing is you're setting those expectations. So even if the para is not explicitly teaching the student or within an arm's length of the student, they still have a role, whether they're floating around the gym or whether they're helping out the tutor student. Yeah, I mean, it's just very important for teachers to realize that if you want the paras to be a support in your classroom, you have to be explicit with them about what those expectations are.
To add to that too, that's a building block. So we've even 23 years into this program this year, my new department chair, he's already established we're meeting 3 times this semester. So we have a pre-meeting of like, because some people come in, they don't realize it's a general education class. So they're kind of like thrown off by that. And then on top of it, what's my role? There's 47 kids here. I've got 9 paras. What am I supposed to do? So we can kind of go over like, we want you standing. We want the phones away, like basic things, but even teachers do it. It's kind of good reminders. And then kind of explain how important they can be in this classroom, helping us out. So meeting like that to me has been so helpful because I feel like it's an open forum. It's not like, oh, she's tattling or this is what she wants or she wants too much, because you're going through so many different communications that to sit down with everyone and have everyone together there and understand and be able to share, it's beyond helpful. So we've progressed with this too. Is I have those meetings have been perfect, needed.
Let's talk about the actual activities that you do with your students in the gym. And then maybe you can also give a few examples of how you modify some of those activities to meet the needs of your students who have exceptional needs.
I do every activity probably that everybody else does. I follow a curriculum that I pretty much keep consistent. So the biggest thing I would say is if you're a general education teacher and you're going into something like this, meaning I do hold an adaptive certificate from the state of Illinois, but to go in here knowing you're working with a population that needs a little bit more attention is structure like that. So my structure of my class is exactly the same every day. Our warm-up's the same. We have no surprises. Every unit is 3 weeks long. They get in the gym, they walk and talk with their friends. We do a walk and jog. We change directions. I mean, to some of my tutors, it may seem mundane or kind of boring, but I explain that it's elementary based and it's actually soothing for them to have the routine. So then our kids aren't shocked. We stretch, we do sit-ups, we do push-ups just like anybody else. And then we get into our activity. So 3-week units, I start with personal space, tag games, just free movement, freeze tag, so many varieties. And I'll share, I think I've shared my presentation with you and I've given that open for you to share that with whoever you want. That's usually our first 3 weeks. But some of our cooler units that we have the opportunity to do just from our facilities alone is rock climbing. So we get 3 weeks on the wall, rock climbing, traversing and climbing up. We get 2 units each semester. We have 3 weeks in our pool. Huge for us. Our kids love it. So we'll do 6 weeks of swimming. We also do a huge dance unit where we actually perform on stage. So those are probably the 3 that are not as normally seen in our class and how we modify. Rock climbing is amazing. We just kind of start with basic traversing, holding onto the wall. And basically, our tutors and our students will accommodate for themselves. So they'll adjust. We'll give them ideas, we'll give them the safety, we'll tell them what we expect. I have a video of a boy with Down syndrome trying to pick himself off the ground. Does he pick himself off the ground? No, he literally stands up and then climbs. And he's so happy. So to us, like that's the adaptation. He adapted himself and he's successful. Now, when we climb, we won't do one belay or one climber. We do the Australian backup belay. And we actually do this with our freshmen as well. And this is kind of why I felt comfortable going into it. So we will set up 3 tutors or 3 or 4 students so everyone can participate in a harness. And then they're connected to a rope, which is connected to the climbing rope. And then we have our climber. So basically, the belaying system is as these students step backwards, that rope gets tight and holds that student on the wall, which is amazing because now I can put in some of my kids who would never be able to belay alone paired up with a tutor. And now they're still participating, even if they're not climbing. They're falling into a safety category, watching, assisting. I've also had a student with CP who couldn't get up the wall. So we put 6 young men on there and they used all their weight to pull her up. Now, in her mind, she did it. And that's what we want. And it was a success at getting there. We also accommodate our lower cognitive groups with that same system, the Australian backup belay with three belayers, and we get them up for sensory. So they'll wear a regular harness and they'll just swing. So a lot of our kids just enjoy being lifted off the ground and just kind of pushing off on the wall and enjoying that swinging motion. So many different ways we can do it. I use my wheel chairs when we're traversing any of my chairs to hold pool noodles for students to go under or to hold a hoop that students go through. So they get to adjust the level. They get to kind of choose what they want to do. And a lot of our students also in chairs will get hooked up on the wall and they'll go ahead and just get that free float or lifted to the top. So it's always going to be successful. Everybody's involved in some category.
My main takeaways from that are the level of creativity that adapted minded PE teachers have. I'm always just completely inspired by that. The various levels of modifications that you make for your students in order to allow them to experience success and to experience joy too. It sounds like in everything that you do, that is the end goal, is for students to experience joy through physical movement.
I have a student, my first student ever, and I would love people to look her up. Her name is Bridget Evans. And Bridget Evans was one of my first students in the PEOPEL program. And she's this little girl that would walk around on pink crutches in the hallway. And she had a dog named Cole. And she's the first student in our district that had a service dog. This is back like 2004, 2005. And Bridget came into the scene in the small class that I had. And I sat with her. She's spina bifida. And I said, Bridget, what do you want from PE? And one of the things she said is usually her type of kid was put in the fitness center, told to lift weights, ride the bike. It wasn't socialization. It wasn't fun. It was this room. She's like, I want to be a kid. She's like, I'm already broken. It's obvious. I want people to treat me like I'm not broken. And from there on, I just kind of had this mentality of their kids. A new parent, you're always shielding your kid, but as they grow, you're like, they're going to fall. And that's kind of what we do here is letting them be kids, right? Not like following them around, making sure that they're safe. I mean, kids aren't always going to be safe, but we're going to keep it in a nice, safe environment. So Bridget Evans, she ended up leaving Sandburg, graduating, going to the University of Illinois, where she had another service dog because Cole retired. She opened up the Illini Service Dog down there, which is a non-for-profit place where it houses service dogs with families for inexpensive or free. It still exists today. They just had their 15th birthday. She graduated from the University of Illinois and she's in her 30s now. And she comes back and talks to my students. And how amazing to have this person who's spina bifida, who looks like them, who maybe has been told her whole life, like, you can't do anything. And now she's going to come in, literally roll in. And she's going to say, look how successful I was. Nothing can hold you back. And I let all of my kids go to that because I think for them to see someone that looks like them or be like them and be like, wow, she did it. And I think that's the biggest takeaway.
Yeah, your program has a deeper impact. I mean, there's a huge impact that it has among peers in the gym, but it also has this deeper impact outside of PE class. And I just love that. I love when PE teachers can take what students are learning in their class and these really powerful experiences and show students ways that they can utilize those skills and experiences outside of physical education.
The one thing I say to my tutors when they first walk in, first of all, I congratulate them to get through 200 people to make it in. And I mean, I get phone calls, the department chairs get phone calls like, "What? How can I get in? Why can't I get in?" And the first thing I tell them is, you're going to walk in here and think that you're going to change someone's life. You're like, I'm going to come in here and change it. And I go, but you are going to walk out of here completely changed. You're going to be a different person. And when they graduate, that is the exact thing they say to me. I'll say, this is not gym. This is not just like we're coming to gym. This is a life experience and something you can carry with you forever.
You're just making me wish that I had an experience like this when I was in high school. This type of program is just so inspirational. I hope that the people listen will consider implementing some of these practices in their program, even if it's just small bits at a time. And we'll talk in a moment about what advice you might have for someone who's considering starting something like your program or building onto a program that they already have. I want to go back to modifications just for a moment. You gave some great modifications about the rock wall. Can you think of any other popular activities that the majority of PE teachers do that you could share some creative modifications with?
So what we'll do, even simple thing with soccer, if I have a kid in a chair, yeah, we have contraptions we can make, but I have 47 kids. So like to have something that's in the way, it can be a lot. So a simple thing of like a student in a wheelchair gets to put the ball on their lap for 5 seconds. So they get to move with 5 seconds. Now they know they have 5 seconds. So they're like, I got 5 seconds, and they're rolling or someone's pushing them fast. It also incorporates the tutor or another student lifting the ball up to put it on their lap. So there's that bond there. Like, I'm going to help you. You'll actually see some of the special ed kids like stop play to pull that onto their lap and let them go. That is beyond simple. Another thing that we like is we like to play T-ball. We bring T-ball in and we start really basic. I get the softball, the actual softball tee. It's a lot heavier. I borrow it from a softball coach, and I will use different size activity balls so they can use. So a beach ball, maybe for one of my students that may be visually impaired, the brightly colored beach ball, that's going to adjust on the tee, down to a dodgeball. We're going to put a dodgeball there. If I have an advanced kid, we're going to put a tennis ball. So we're just, because my levels are so different physically and cognitively, we have to be creative. The other thing is, as the kids begin to advance, they start to make their own accommodations. So as they walk up to the plate, are you using the tee or are you not using the tee? And then they get that choice, like, I'm ready just for the dodgeball. And then that gives them the success. Kickball, another simple task. Maybe I have a kid that's not good at balancing. They have the option to kick it standing still. So we won't pitch the ball. We'll just put it at their feet, or we may have a tutor do it. And it's the simple things, learning how to run the bases, all that kind of accommodation stuff. So I'm pretty cheap in that sense, where I try to do things inexpensively and I try to do the most basic things, but I also find that the students accommodate for themselves. So they're going to start talking to their tutor about what they need. So now what they're actually doing is they are using their voice instead of someone saying, you need to do this, you need to do this. Now they're saying, hey, I'm ready. Go ahead and pitch me the ball. I had a student with CP fall, and while he was playing kickball. And everyone would have thought in their mind that he would have been done. I'm embarrassed. The whole class saw. But this kid stood up and looked at his tutor, and she goes, do you want the ball at your feet? And he goes, no, pitch it. And then he was successful. So now he's making his own decisions for his own body. And it's amazing. So very, very simple.
So you provide students with different size objects, different color, different densities even.
Like T-ball, I'm going to have a fatter bat. I'm going to have a regular skinny, wiffle ball bat. I'm going to have 4 for them to choose. What grip's going to be the best for me? What's going to help? And then I'm going to have 4 different athletic balls that we're going to use that they're going to have the opportunity to choose.
Yeah, I think that's the most powerful part. I mean, you could adjust the manipulative size and density and color. You can change the target size. You can have students stand closer or further away from a target. Those things are all phenomenal. Of course, when you bring it to that next level, you're giving students the opportunity to advocate for their own needs so that they can experience success in that activity. I think that's super powerful. Earlier, you shared about the impact that this program had on one of your students. Do you have any other stories that you'd like to share with folks about the deeper impact that this class has on students' connection and confidence with their peers?
I feel like I could tell you like 500 stories. A story that comes to mind when I present is actually the first video I show. I had a boy named by the name of Rylan. He probably loved that I was talking about this. Rylan came into high school. He's high functioning autism, really struggled socially, couldn't pick up on social cues. He just wanted to fit in. All he wanted to do was fit in. And he got placed in the people program. And there he started meeting friends, but he joined swimming, he joined football, he joined wrestling. He just wanted friends and he struggled to keep friends. But in the people program, he started making friends. And year after year, his friend circle got bigger. Our tutors go out and pick up these kids. They take them to dinners, they take them to lunch. One of the things I do in class are outings within the building. So we went to a football game, we go to the homecoming game. And this video is Ryland's senior year with probably 1,000 students in the student section. And he's with the super fans, and we're on the field, we're on the track. And the super fan who's not in the people program, he's just a community kid, just like everybody else, gives him the bullhorn. And everyone starts chanting his name, Ryland, Ryland. So 1,000 kids are chanting this kid's name. He went from no friends to everybody knowing who he is and respecting him. And now this kid is leading an I Believe cheer. And the whole crowd is going crazy. To me, that's a community changing point. That is a point of acceptance because these kids are in the building now. They're with kids, they're eating lunch with students, they're all over the place. And there's this community acceptance. It's changed what and how they're treated in a building. Ryland was somebody, he was always somebody, but he wanted to be seen. So to me, that always resonates with me. And another story I have is a boy named Jake, and Jake graduated last year. Jake struggled. He went to a special school. He had some aggression issues. He would tell me about him his freshman year. He's very inappropriate in his talkings and what he would do. And we would have to talk him through it. And he wanted to be a part of our community. And he knew he had to behave. And his parents were wonderful, of course. So they really kept him on point. But 4 years of Jake, kind of struggling, he found a group of friends. Our Ultimate program runs a graduation for our special needs kids, and all of our tutors go and they ask our tutors to give a speech about our students. And our tutors give the most amazing speeches, and then it wraps up and everyone's happy. Well, Jake grabbed the microphone on his senior year, and Jake gave the most compelling speech. His parents sat in front of me just bawling. And he said, I started out as a little flower and I grew into this enormous tree. And he talked about how it was hard for him to fit in, but he had no limits. He quotes Walt Disney. It was unplanned, unprepared, not written, and it was probably the most motivational thing we've seen. And so it was his gratitude of learning through this process. And it's always about the tutors. It's always about the kids. It's always about how they impacted each other. I don't want them to talk about me, and I don't want them to talk about any adults in there. I mean, we're all doing what we should be doing. We're teachers. But when you see these kids appreciating one another and feeling accepted, it's beyond. One other story I'll share, I'll go on the tutor side of it. And he happens to be my son's friend and a great kid, a little squirrely, lots of energy, probably ADHD, smart boy. I kind of took him on that, like, ooh, I'm a little worried to take him. Is he going to fit this role? Is he going to be able to do what I need him to do, which is be mature, but be a kid? And that's hard when you're 16 years old. Came in the first year and he had a little bit of struggling, had to call home a little bit, but he's going to get this. I have this feeling. Now, probably one of my best kids ever. And he was able to pick up on a behavior of one of our students that was having some severe OCD, things I did not see. And he was able to come to me and say, hey, I'm really concerned. This is what I'm seeing. To share things with me, for me to relay it to the parents and the team to say, hey, Nico's seeing this. And here now I've got a kid looking out for another kid that's like actually helped him more than probably us as a staff did. So to see those changes now, he's top notch, mature. He's putting things away before I even ask. He's probably one of the best tutors I have, very reliable, very social, very personable. But to go kind of from squirrely to, very advanced and helpful it's what we look for.
It's really powerful to hear the stories of, students whose lives have been changed by being welcomed into a new community.
I had another student that even my kids both are tutors in my class. So my son's a senior right now. He's a tutor. And then my daughter graduated last year. And I remember when I pick tutors or we go through the tutors, sometimes they put their opinion in. I'm like, it's not your opinion. I'm looking for different types of kids. Like you don't get to say. But anyways, it happened to be a neighbor boy of ours. And he was a little bit troubled at times. I mean, I'm sure he would even admit it if I said it. And he came into this program and Emily's like, oh my God, mom, like it's not going to be good. Like he's loud, he's obnoxious, he's going to say the wrong thing. And I'm like, I will cross that bridge when we get there. Colton graduated and is now at the Illinois State University. He told me that day of graduation, he's like, I didn't even see myself going to college. I didn't even see this. And these boys stand there at the end of their senior year crying. These are your football players, your basketball players crying that they're going to miss this. And for him to say, I'm going to college, I'm going to move on, and to change his life, to take a risk. And my daughter looked at me senior year and she said, Colton is the best tutor. So here's a kid that everyone would have been like, what? And you take a chance and it works out.
Incredible. You mentioned a couple times in our conversation things that tutors and their partners do outside of school. You mentioned a dance performance. What are some other extracurricular activities that tutors and their partners do outside of school time?
So a lot of our kids, we'll have parents that will email me pictures or reach out to me because if the tutor says like, hey, I'd like to reach out to someone. So what we do is I'll ask the parent, can I share your email? And then they'll 99.9% say yes. And I'll share that email with the tutor and let them arrange things on their own. Like after school, that's on their own, whatever they choose to do and the parents accept. But I had just recently a boy named Jack, and Jack was profoundly autistic, lots of behaviorals, but great kid. And we had a group of boys that really became close with him. So what they'll do is they pick Jack up still to this day, every other weekend or once a month, and they take Jack to do Jack's favorite things. So if Jack's into Burger King this month, they're going to go to Burger King and then they're going to go to Target, and they take Jack. And this dad looked at me and he said, this is the first time that my kid has left the house with a friend and not a family member. So they build this. So I get these pictures. And if you go on, I have an Instagram for people. If you go on there, they're out for ice cream. They're out getting ready for homecoming together. They're just building bonds and building relationships outside. The other thing I like to do is to incorporate the community. And in the community, I mean by the school and the community around you. What I like to do is join events together. So we'll go to a football game. But one of my students, and please listen to your kids, they have great ideas. I had a tutor by the name of Jeffrey Bellick. He sent me an Instagram reel of a game he saw with special needs kids playing against the football team. So I'm one of those people, like, I love the idea. Do you want to make it happen? Let's go. I had 3 weeks. We made it happen. So just last week, and I'll share the pictures with you, our PEOPEL program played against our varsity senior members of our football team. So after their walkthrough, and we went the 9 yards, I made posters for all of our kids. So it was almost like senior night with all of their poses and their posters. So when their family showed up, they could see that. We put the tunnel out. So I got the athletic department and they put the tunnel out so the kids could run through it. Our football players made a line and cheered as these kids ran out. And then we played the worst game of football you could ever see. I don't know who was more fun for. Our football players that are doing really well and maybe needed a little mental break, or our students. And here's the accommodations. I have a girl that's like, I'm tired. I don't want to bring my wheelchair. I'm like, well, you're my assistant coach. I gave her a whistle and a clipboard. She posted about it all day long. Like, I'm the coach, come see me. I got a kid to announce by the name of Cash Thompson. He showed up and he announced like beyond all. He does like a little podcast. He invited one of my kids on there. They played music. And I couldn't get the kids off the field. And the parents were able to come. So for them to see this and see the interaction, it's not just with tutors. Sure, I have maybe 5 football players out there, but I also have 25 other football players that are not in this program who are taking part and enjoying these kids together. So it's that community.
All right, let's rewind it all the way back to the beginning. I'm thinking about the PE teachers that I support here in Denver, and we have some really impactful peer-to-peer PE classes, we call them, very similar to what you're doing, but I don't think I've seen any that are quite this involved and structured. We do have some great ones, though. We also have some ones that are like really struggling to get organized and get off the ground. You've talked a little bit about what your first steps were, but what advice would you give to someone who is looking to build out their peer-to-peer program or their people program, or who want to start something similar in their school from scratch?
My advice is honestly to start super small. Start with a class that you have. If you have a class where they're going to have some inclusion in there, one of the things that we find the most impactful is the teaching that happens during the wrap up. That's my teaching time. That's when I can teach about what happens. So if you're starting this program, start with gameplay. Just play like you normally would, accommodate, But after class, use that moment in time to like have a teachable moment. Like I might have a kid that day, they might be really off or they're showing behaviors. Well, maybe we had a fire drill. So then I have an opportunity during that 1 minute, I'll call it, of teaching time to say, hey, students with autism like routine. They don't like the routine broken. So if something gets broken, it can throw their entire day off. Then we're going to see these behaviors. So I would start very, very small, use that end of class to kind of teach your students how to work with your kids and little tidbits here and there as you go, and encourage questions. And even if you don't know the answers, but start small in that segment, then try to get a team together. And a team is going to be your administrators, right? A department chair or principal, and sit with them and say, this is kind of the idea. It's not going to look like this, but let's start here. And that starting there might be, we're going to pick some of our, maybe some teachers are going to say, this great kid, this great kid, and you pull them in to be leaders. And then you start meshing classes and then progress from there of what your school is going to allow or what it can handle.
I really connect with that because it's not like you need to approach your building leaders with an entirely fleshed out idea. You can just give them the framework of what you're trying to accomplish and then use them as collaborators to help you build this thing. That personally made me feel this would be a lot more within reach if it was something that I wanted to implement.
And then you can also create within like cross curriculum. That's a big word, right? We talk about that. But the biggest thing is now I'm going to take this PE realm, right? That's a different beast than anything else. And now we're going to start mixing in with some special ed classes. I'm going to start mixing with some behavioral classes. I'm going to start mixing in with, lower cognitive classes. And then from there, we're working together as a team. So I've got case managers, I've got speech, I got OT. You're also going to value your PE teacher more, right? We all have goals and standards that we're hitting, but within PE now I can go into an IEP and talk about time management. Can we dress? Can we lock our locker? Are they able to use a key lock? Are they using a regular lock? Do they need assistance? And now we're talking about that. We're talking about hygiene and we're mixing in real life in PE, right? We're validating what our job is. So I think really small steps. And I always encourage people, if they do want to talk with me, I've met with some teachers and kind of sat down and gone over some pretty simple curriculum stuff, can really help you just get started.
I'm really glad that you brought up the reputation of a PE program component. It's one of the things that I talk a lot about with my guests. I talked with Jake Miller about it a couple of months ago. You're going to get viewed one way if all you care about is having students be red and sweaty. That's what Jake said, versus doing all of these different things that you're talking about. So it can be within the realm of a regular PE program. It can also be what it looks like to have a successful peer-to-peer program like this, where you're having impact on all different types of students and countless students throughout the years.
And I agree. I think that even coming back to like PE, like freshmen not knowing how to use a lock, like it's really basic knowledge to kind of share with them and like to really just take the time. That's why I say to scale back a little bit instead of assuming everybody knows. And that's kind of in the adaptive world. Like we assume like, oh, they can't do that. Like so many people tell me I can't do that. I can't do that. Like I go on field trips, check your local, like I'm sure Denver Nuggets do something that incorporate with schools. We go to the Windy City Bulls. And I'll have people tell me they can't do it. They can't ride the bus. They're not going to be able to do that. And I'm like, they're going to ride the bus because they're going to ride with their friend. And then they do it. So scale back, start basic, and just kind of build and get your kids out, get them in the community, get them incorporated, and sky is the limit. And what I've seen is program after program integrating into the classroom. Now my kids are in the classrooms, they're moving around everywhere. It's amazing.
I can't thank you enough for sharing your expertise with everyone who listens. I'll make sure that we share the resources that you shared with me. Those will be in the description to the episode. And I'll make sure that people have your social so that they can reach out and get in touch with you if they like as well.
All right. Well, thank you, Gary.